Hi, and welcome to my life update. It's hard to figure out where to start. March 20th or so of March 20th or so of 2018, I started feeling really sick. I had been without insurance for a good 8 months or so at that point. And so I hadn't been taking my insulin because I didn't think I could afford it. And so I tried doing it with diet and exercise, and that just wasn't going well. So I thought I had the flu. And then I woke up on the 25th of March, and I was just so sick. It was beginning of Holy Week, and so I told my family, you know what, I'm feeling really sick. I'm not going to go to church today. And I didn't. So I stayed home, and I took a shower real quick, and I got sick in the shower, cleaned it up, took care of all that, and went to bed. It was probably 9 a.m. at this point. My sister came into my room a few times to get stuff. I had just moved back, and it was her extra room that, so she still had a ton of stuff in there. And I basically slept through it all. I was incoherent. About 4 p.m., my sister realizes I haven't eaten all day, and as a diabetic, it's really bad. Both our parents are diabetic as well. And so she came to wake me up to try to get me to eat, and she couldn't really wake me up. I was incoherent. It took her half an hour to get a dress over my head and get me down the stairs safely. She was able to get me to sit and go down like a kid, like one step at a time. And so then they get me to the ER. The ER assumes I'm intoxicated, just as I was not coherent really. And then they took my temperature, and I was at 90. I was in stages of hypothermia from pneumonia, not the flu. And as it turned out, I was going into diabetic ketoacidosis, which means my kidneys were shutting down and my body was trying everything it could to keep me alive. They sent my mother and sister home about 1 a.m. At 2, my mom got a call to come back to the hospital immediately. By the time they got there, they had resuscitated me. I went into cardiac arrest for, I believe, 7 minutes. And I had aspirated vomit, and so they had to intubate me to try to keep me alive enough to stabilize me. I was so sick. I was on our level 1 trauma center here in Flint. The best hospital I could be at for this. And sorry, I don't know why. This is the easy part of this whole video. And so they had to put me into a medically induced coma for 10 days, I believe. My levels were so outrageous. They didn't know how I was still alive. At that point, I basically was put on machines. In this 10-day period, I lost about 80 pounds. Oh, don't worry, I gained a good chunk of that back. Not all of it. Good chunk of it, though. Afterwards, the doctors and nurses said to me on multiple occasions they'd never seen someone so sick survive. A few doctors mentioned that they've only seen numbers that weren't as bad as mine are usually in those who are already dead. about day 5, our personal family doctor came in. He was rather upset. He hadn't been notified of any of this. Came in, looked at everything, talked to everybody for half an hour, and then came out and talked to my family. And at this point, they'd already been told to make arrangements if necessary, because they just didn't know how this was going to play out. And so I then, my mom asked our doctor, do we have hope? And he says, we always have hope, Annie. We always have hope. And all of this is happening during Holy Week, and we're Catholic, and so we're very active in our church. And so there were just so many people praying, and just I can't thank everyone enough for all of that. Long story, semi-short. They were able to bring me out after 10 days. When I woke up, I was aware that the time had passed. I saw the date on the board in front of me, and I was able to comprehend it, but it was confusing. I knew that my sister had gone through her spring break. She was a high school teacher at the time. That my grandparents had moved houses, and the doctors and all my staff were floored. I shouldn't be able to comprehend the time of passage and all of that. But during all of that, I had some nerve damage to my legs, and had extreme drop foot. So my legs, most of our feet are like this. I don't have the strength to hold them up. And then both my knees and both ankles don't have the strength to support me. At this point, I was on dialysis. I was not able to, my body couldn't function enough to go to the bathroom. It was a lot. I had sustained a couple of rough scars. That right there, I'm not sure how you can see it. That's one of them. From everything they had to do to save me. I have been so sick that they basically brought ICU to me. It took about 36 hours to stabilize me enough to be moved to the intensive care unit. Then I spent about a month in the rehab facility at our hospital, and the staff there, beyond amazing. I can never fully convey how much those people mean to me. And it's so weird, these friendships you build with working with the same people day in and day out for a month, couple hours a day, and then one day they're just out of your life. It's very interesting for sure. So the day I was discharged, I was walking with a walker. I walked a grand total of 300 feet when I left, I think. I had my main occupational therapist come to me, and we were fairly close, and we were just chatting, and he was like, honestly, I didn't think you would ever really walk again. It took 5 of them to move me to a chair the first day I was in rehab. All while still going through dialysis, and trying to do everything we could. I will be eternally grateful, especially to him. He gave me my first shower after like 3 weeks. Amazing. It's that I can never thank them enough. They truly mean the world to me. So I went home after about a month in rehab when I started my outpatient rehab, and it was rough. I was barely standing with a walker. the amount of love and care I got from my mom and my sister and everyone around me was incredible. But you don't truly understand love and devotion until you have someone with you every 3 hours helping you use the restroom, because you're still a kidney patient, and so your body's going to be overactive and go on a schedule. By this point, I was off dialysis. Everything came back. All of my organs, everything. There doesn't even appear to be damage. We're watching it, and we keep eye on things to make sure, but there's truly no damage. This is incredible. And then I worked at outpatient rehab for about 3 months until I used up all of my insurance visits for the year. And I have progressed to using very heavily a cane, which is incredible. I have these awesome, I'll insert a photo, awesome braces that help me stand up. And then I went back to my hospital because I had won an award for the Triumphant Spirit Award, because not only did I push on, but I had an amazing attitude, and I reached out to others, and it's this whole thing. But I got to go back and see all my therapists again, and when I walked in, my uncle dropped me off at the door, and so I was walking in and all that, and I started walking to where the ceremony was going to be, and I didn't realize that I was walking past a group of the therapists who were there to escort people in, and they all had to do a double take because I didn't look like the person they knew. And my 2 main therapists, my guys, they're the best. They're the best. Of course, you all think that, but mine are. So that's separate. It was incredible just to be able to see and talk to them and catch up, and it's incredible just how much they care. So then I'm without insurance visits and all that, and so we get to December, and I have this bronchitis that developed from pneumonia, got x-rays for it, the whole shebang, and I'm just feeling like crap, in all honesty, just like total crap. And so, but whatever, push on, keep learning, getting stronger, all of that. Well, then in February, I was going to start physical therapy again, but then my dad and grandpa both got really sick. My dad, we found out, has dementia. He is 71 and has a myriad of health issues. The main 2 are that he had a kidney transplant 8 years ago in January. And the other thing is he has a fused ankle, or it's called Charcot's joint. And so what it is that at the ankle, the ball doesn't move. And so, but with all of that, he started having some health issues, and he had to be in the hospital for about 3 weeks, I think. And then he had to go to an outpatient facility for 2 months, I think April and May. And so my mom and I were visiting him every day. And in this time, my grandpa was hit by a car, broke a leg, and started a whole downward spiral with him. He was 89, was being the keyword. And so I just pushed off physical therapy. I canceled some of my regular routine doctor appointments just because there was so much going on, and I wanted to help and be present, and it was just too much at once. Then starting in March, I started struggling to control my blood sugars, which have been stellar, perfect. I've been able to do everything great with medication, mind you. And so my nutritionist and I, we were just confused, but we kept like adjusting. Then the bronchitis wasn't going away, and I would wake up at like out of a dead sleep at like 6:30 in the morning and just get sick. And then unless I ate something like in the middle of the night, and then my stomach would calm down. So we just thought it was the drainage from the bronchitis. Not the case. We brought my dad home from the facility on May 16th. On May 17th, I woke up sick again. I checked my ketones, which is, it's a diabetic thing about how it's ketones are bad. It's still there. Yay. And I had like midway ketones, which is really concerning because I'm very successful. It's very easy for my body to go back into DKA. And so, sorry about that. So I got a hold of my nutritionist. We were calling back and forth, just trying to figure things out. And then, I was actually getting adjustments done on my braces so that they weren't fitting right again. Like they were getting too tight for some odd reason. Just weird. Because mine just tend to keep like shrinking. And she called me back and said, enough's enough. You're going into the ER right now. So I ended up going to the ER. And I'm dehydrated, which is weird. Because I drink like a horse. I mean, like closer to a camel and like a ton. Long story short, I'm dehydrated because I'm pregnant with twins. And I'm 6 months along. So, backpedaling. I had no morning sickness. Alright, I got sick. Grand total of 6 times through the whole pregnancy. So, like 4 before I found out. But it was attributed to bronchitis. So, morning sickness, not really a thing. I was a kidney patient, and so my urination did not change. It was just a continual, like, every 3 hours. Which the doctor said, oh, it could be a few years before, like, your body levels out again. I'm like, okay, whatever. Frequent urination, not a big deal. Then, my emotions were getting a little out of whack. But I attributed that to stress in my life. And the fact that I have anxiety, depression, and now I've been diagnosed with PTSD. Awesome. And so it was fine. It was whatever. I gained a total of 12 pounds with twins, mind you, by this point. So, fact that I'm not going to be overly active. We had a really cold winter last year. And, if I stepped wrong, the braces could shatter. And then that means I can't stand or walk. And so I wasn't walking as much as I normally would. And then stress, and then eating with stress, I assumed 12 pounds. Not a big deal. When you're a big person, 12 pounds, it's nothing. So then fine, whatever. So no morning sickness. No change in urination. No real weight gain. Oh, and I had a pap smear in October, which apparently I was like 2 weeks pregnant at that point. And I was told it'd be a couple years probably until my my cycle started again because of all the trauma my body went through. That's usually like the last part of your body to start working again. So like probably like 2 years, maybe not really ever. I'm like, okay. So no periods. So like that's 4 like major key factors of pregnancy that just was not a thing for me. I texted my best friend and I'm like, dude, and he spoke the hard truth I needed to hear. that I couldn't care for my boys physically. I struggle enough to stand on my own. Taking care of a baby, let alone twins, was too much. It was just too much. I found out at 27 weeks that I was pregnant. And so, like, the next day, I called the adoption agency. I told all of my close friends that are, like, in my actual physical life. But beyond that, I kept it quiet. Not out of shame for being pregnant out of wedlock, but out of shame for deciding that I was not the best option for my kids. So I was very high risk at that point. I'm a diabetic. I'm overweight. I have polycystic ovarian syndrome, multiple births, all of my organ issues from last year, and no prenatal care. We were in our 3rd trimester when we found out. We as in the boys and I. Boys, by the way, twins, identical. And so we spent a ton of time at the doctor's. We were averaging, they got me directly into physical therapy because they wanted to build up my body as best they could before I was going to be pushed back again because of healing. I cannot say enough for, yet again, my hospital team. They were incredible. They took care of everything for me. They were so beyond amazing. I was having ultrasounds twice a week, NSTs, which is monitoring theirs and my heart rate, twice a week, therapy twice a week, OB twice a week, diabetes appointments once a week. There are a few other, oh yeah, my endocrinologists, eye doctors, kidney doctors. I mean, I was averaging 3 appointments a day, 4 days a week. By the end, we were up to 5 appointments a day, 4 days a week. It was nuts. We just spent all of our time in the doctor's offices. And, it was a slow and painful death. I'm sorry. Because of my dad, he couldn't be left alone, so I went by myself. My mom took care of Dad, and she was my rock through everything. But the worst part was sitting there watching all of these happy couples and happy families and grandmas and just everyone, and there I was alone every day, taking down to when I wouldn't even have my boys anymore. And the staff was absolutely amazing. I told all of those in the pregnancy clinic and everything what I was going to do, and they supported me and loved me, and but also just didn't make me feel like an incubator. It was great. I didn't have the guts to tell my physical therapy team that I was giving up my boys. In hindsight, I wish I had. But I just couldn't face the fact of them having to look at me with a pity in their eyes like most everyone else. I needed needed them to push me to get me well enough. I didn't need their pity. Sorry. We were going to have a C-section at 34 weeks. My doctors were hopeful I would make it that far. They were fairly uncertain I would. They were thinking a lot closer to 30 just because of the toll pregnancy has on the body and how much trauma my body had gone through in the last year. And my doctor and I decided to do a C-section versus a natural birth because of my physical limitations. Just my legs don't bend the correct way and I can't support myself, and so trying to give birth would have been very hard on my body and hard on my boys. And so we planned a C-section for 34 weeks, and so we got to 33 weeks, and on my 33 weeks, I was talking to my physical therapist, my main one, and he didn't know what I was planning at that point. And I asked him, is this as good as I'm gonna get? He said, more than likely, this is your baseline. It's livable and you're gonna be okay, but this is probably where you're gonna be, Suze. And that's when I knew it was adoption, 100%. And so, I picked out a family that day. I scheduled to meet them the following Monday. This was a Friday. I went to the movies with my friends on Saturday. Sunday, I went to church where I was helped. I am part of the music there. I sing. I received a special private blessing from our priest for that day, and those who are about to give birth. Then I went out with a couple of my friends. We all went to lunch together. And I went home and I took a nap because I was tired. And when I woke up, my water had broke. So, and it's nothing like dramatic like it is in the movies. Like, I went to the bathroom and it just wouldn't stop. And so luckily my dad was asleep at that point, and Mom and I decided, all right, let's go. I'm like, I can't drive myself. So we get there, we get to the hospital, and every scenario is playing out in my mind. I'm like, how am I going to get a doctor up to speed on everything between my health, the pregnancy, the boys, just everything. And I was just this side of a panic attack over it. And I get up to labor and delivery, and I change into a gown. I get on the bed. The door opens up, and it's my OB. Like, she was on call that night. She was the one for all the emergencies coming in, and it was my OB. Like, I just started crying because I was in relief, because I didn't have to worry. Like, we were going to do what I had planned to do. And so she confirmed that my water was broke, and we decided, all right, let's do this. And so we prepped throughout this pregnancy that I knew about, my pregnancy. I call it the shortest pregnancy in the world. 6 weeks, whatever. 6 weeks to the day. I don't know where my brain is. I'm scattered right now. So I had this really bad cold and like so congested I couldn't even, like, I would wake up in pain from like my ear aching so bad. But being pregnant, of course, you can't take anything. And so they were rushing IVs through me to get the antibiotics in before we go ahead and did major surgery. And the IV went a little too hard, and it released everything, which is awesome. But that meant I basically puked through the entirety of the birth. So the birth itself was incredible. I got to the hospital 11:30 at night. My boys were born at 2:29 and 2:31 Monday morning, 1st of July. They were 5'2" and 5'8" at 33 weeks with no prenatal care. We know how to grow them in my family. Like, we're children growers. My preemies looked nothing like majority of the preemies in the NICU. They are basically fine. They had a few issues because they were so early. I mean, we were only 33 weeks. We had like another 7 to go. And they have a few other issues that we're working with now, but nothing major. Like, they're fine. We all assumed that they would have heart issues and all of that, and they were fine. They have some battles to fight through, and we're just discovering what needs to happen. I texted my agency worker and said, hey, I can't meet for lunch today because I'm giving birth. And so we pushed back seeing them until Tuesday. So it is like 7 in the morning. I've seen my boys and they're doing really good. And I'm exhausted and I'm like half awake. And finally things are calming down enough that I can sleep. And I look down at my foot that hasn't moved in a year. I see it twitch and I'm just like, I need to stop hallucinating. I need to sleep. And then I slept for a few hours. And then the next day, we signed all the paperwork. The father hasn't been a big part of my life, really. And he didn't end up even being put on the birth certificates. Because he wasn't there at the time. And, so my eldest son is Jason Michael Rosenkrantz, my last name. And, my younger son is Benjamin Steve Rosenkrantz. They're everything to me. I love them more than I can say. I was always told I would probably never have kids. And then I was really told I would never have kids. And they're my miracles. I love them to death. They definitely have my personality. So I pray for my adoptive family. When I met my potential adoptive parents, it was instantaneous. We were a family. It was like we'd known each other for 20 years. And I knew they were the ones. I never really believed at love at first sight. But between the first ultrasound with my boys and then meeting them in person, and then meeting J and D. I do believe in it. And then my boys are in the NICU 3 weeks and 5 weeks. Both left on a Friday. And it was a blessing and a curse. Sorry. I get to see them every day there in the NICU. And the staff in that part of the hospital was still phenomenal. They all knew, excuse me. They all knew that, they were the adoptive parents, and then there were myself and my mom. And they were outstanding. Loving, patient, compassionate. And you get to know people when you're there for 5 weeks. And it felt so bad. We had the same nurse for both discharge days. And, it was so... as you can see, I've picked up a really great, life skill. I can cry without making a sound. And so there were days that I would just sit there in the NICU, just tears streaming down my face. And those days were usually the worst. Discharge days for both boys. I happened to have the same nurse both days. And so I felt bad for her for that. But I'm so grateful. I'm so grateful for the time I had with my boys. The time I do have with my boys. It's an incredible relationship we have. Sorry. I was there for my boys' baptism. I text with their parents often, and that first day, it's not customary, but we exchanged phone numbers that day. And I remember that night I was just laying in my hospital bed because I had to stay a few extra days. I had hypertension, which is what caused my water to break, apparently. And the mother texted me and she said, "It's not my boys or mine and Jay's boys. It's our boys. And they're truly making me feel part of the family." And it's been incredible. It is the hardest thing I will ever do, and I literally died. I love them. My whole heart. Then in the midst of all this, a dear friend of mine, her boyfriend and brother were all in a swimming accident on a Monday. Adoption was Tuesday. And the boyfriend, who I was fairly close with too, he didn't make it. And this friend happens to be cousins with two of my best friends. And so I'm trying to love and support and be there for all of us, including myself, while going through my own form of torture. It was a really rough week. So the accident was Monday. Tuesday was adoption. Wednesday is when they took my friend off life support. And that night I was helping lead church, and there was only 3 of us leading music that night, and I got through about half of the songs before I suddenly started crying. And one of the other singers, she just held my hand and cried with me while she kept singing. And the love and support I've had from my friends and my family is outrageous. An aunt, 3 cousins of mine, my nieces and nephew, my one sister, my mom, and a couple of dear friends of ours are able to go to the baptism with us. And J&D's extended family, they wrap you up in love. The adoptive mother's mom happens to have the same first name as my mom. And at the baptism, she just came and just held me. Sent me home with a bunch of food because, yeah. We're a family. We're making plans in the next few weeks to get together. So yeah. Life is funny. You never know how it's gonna end up. I will probably never fully walk again. That's okay. You just never know. Also, if you know of anyone, at least here in the US, who is diabetic without insurance, there are free clinics that will give you insulin, give you the medication you need to survive. Please, no. I'm finally to the point where I can climb stairs again. Not the easiest. Pretty tiring. It's how I'm upstairs in my stitchy chair. I'm back. I'm going to be back. I'm starting to stitch again. I'm starting to be involved in a couple of big stitchy groups. I'm finally coming back, Kim. She and I are co-admins on Stitching Delights, link below. She took the front of everything because I've been a little preoccupied. But my body's finally to the point where I can sit in the chair for a long time. Every 2 hours or so, I have to take the braces off because it's just too painful. And so then I gotta like lay my legs up in a certain direction, and it's funky and it's weird and annoying. But I'm stitching again. I'm making progress again. And I'm working on becoming a whole person again. So thank you for this non-stitchy related video. For anyone who watched it, I appreciate it. So yeah, here's hoping way less emotion on all my other videos. And hopefully like this is the biggest like life update I ever have to give. So, alright, thanks. Bye.